Hi there, and welcome back to another edition of ScaleUp Radio, the podcast inspired by the Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System and designed to make navigating our scale-up journeys that little bit easier by learning from others' experiences. And I'm Kevin Brent, and today we're diving into the digital marketing world with Chris Tipping, who is the founder of the DM Lab. And from a one-man operation in rural Herefordshire to a globally recognised agency, Chris shares the journey of growing his business over 14 years and discover the power of partnership, the milestones that mark the DM Lab success, and Chris's commitment to community and sustainable growth. And we learn how strategic thinking and a focus on work-life balance are shaping the future of digital marketing. And make sure you don't miss any future episodes of ScaleUp Radio by subscribing to it wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. You can also nominate a guest for ScaleUp Radio if you know someone with an interesting story, and you can find out how in the show notes. So join us today for a conversation with Chris filled with insights on building a successful, values-driven business in today's competitive landscape. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted today to be joined by Chris Tipping, who is the marketing director of the DM Lab. So, Chris, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to see you and nice to be here.
Yeah, fantastic. So what's the DM Lab all about?
So we are a digital marketing agency that's been going around for about 14 years. So we specialize in everything from a marketing perspective in the world of digital, covering multi-channel journeys and allowing businesses to be omnipresent, using social media, Google, paid advertising, and various other means, as well as doing a lot of design work and in-house design, print work, basically everything from a digital perspective. And even software development. We cover software and integration of software too. Brilliant.
So a lot has changed since you started the business. When did you start the business up?
It's about 14 years ago. So we're
14 years ago.
Yeah, 2010.
We were talking a little bit off air about that. So lots changed in that time. So we'll cover some of those things in a minute, and maybe a feel as to where you think it's going. So, yeah. How does what sort of size have you got to? How would you describe the scale? You know, if somebody was saying, what stage have you got to your scale-up journey?
So I think we're still classed as a small business, but what we're lucky with, Kevin, is that because of the world that we're in terms of digital, we have a nice, neat little team. So when I started, it was just myself as a freelance guy, started up the business, and we've gone now into an agency with 6 staff, offices in the middle of the city of Herefordshire. But our client base is global. We've got clients all over the world. We've been recognized globally. So we're kind of a small little business that has high impact, so we're specialists in what we do. We have a really good subcontractor list as well. So we work with some really cool people across the globe. So yeah, small, but actually I feel that we're big, if that makes sense. So, and I like to keep it that way, because it means that everyone we work with has attention off us and we look after properly,
Okay, excellent. And I think it's fair to say that in your world, it's a fairly competitive marketplace.
I'm smiling because it is, but weirdly, I live in Hereford, so in Herefordshire, or Hereford, and the digital world is a funny world in Hereford. So we play catch up here. So it was kind of one of those things when we started the agency, and we started 14 years ago, and we kind of primarily focused on aspects of digital, which are kind of websites, and where I sit really well is the marketing and sales side of things. And what we established very quickly is that people in Herefordshire were still playing catch up with understanding what digital and SEO and so on was, and they still wanted very much a website, and we found a lot of people were being charged a lot of money for a website, not understanding what to do with it. And where we're coming the other way, we're very good at getting you to understand what to do with a website and making sure that you spend wisely on it and not spend a fortune with something that's just static. So we've educated the county in the world of digital. We're very much key players locally in Herefordshire to try and get people to understand what digital looks like. We train people from apprentices upwards. We help other businesses place apprentices too to make them become digitally aware. So weirdly, in the world of digital globally, there is definitely a competitive marketplace, but we've carved ourselves to be kind of industry leaders in Herefordshire, and probably within 3 counties at least. And then, globally, we are recognized then for what we do from a digital perspective too. And it's all about changing skill sets and mindsets. It's about educating the marketplace. So although I don't feel everyone understands what digital and digital marketing is, we've got better at it, and everyone will go, oh yeah, it's social media or it's websites or whatever. And it's like, well, actually it's a collective of these items, and understanding what your brand looks like and translates into the world of digital,
Yeah. Great. So and what are the key revenue streams for you? How does the business model work?
Well, that's a good one. So I suppose our main area of focus is mixed between inbound. So we're looking at things like SEO and paid advertising because we're a Google partner agency. Yeah. And then also our front end website design work are probably the primary services that we offer. But within that, we cover so many areas, so it could be even things down to email marketing and social media management. So, and very much we're strategic. So we work with a lot of businesses, again, kind of getting their in-house team up to a level where they understand the world of digital and can deliver the strategy. So, so that's where we sit really well. And, we support small businesses all the way through to large businesses at a high level.
And so some of those are sort of on a retainer type model, recurring revenue model, and some are more ad hoc, are they?
Correct. Yeah, exactly that. So our retainer model is our kind of bread and butter, I suppose. And again, when I started the business over 14 years ago, I keep smiling when I say that. So we knew very quickly that the one hit wonder type of strategy where you potentially do a website for X amount of pounds and then you sort of do the website and then people will drop them. A lot of other agencies would drop them at the end of that website journey. Yeah. It's not sustainable and it's not a great business model. And what I wanted to do is kind of work with clients over a period of time, hopefully forever, and not everyone stays with us, obviously, where we can support them, in multiple ways, because the relationship is key, but also that returning revenue model that comes back from clients is also key. And I use this when I pitch with other clients. You think about the Netflix model, you could pay a subscription, you carry on working with them, you carry on using them. Well, that's kind of what we do, but on a bigger scale. And it can be difficult, in terms of making sure that we've got a good level of retainer coming in, because marketing is always one of those things that are scrutinized and, can be sort of put under the microscope very easy,
Yeah. And who are the key people you're helping? What does your ideal client look like?
So we are very, very good at B2B work. So we kind of work in the world of B2B a lot. We also do B2C and e-commerce stuff a lot, but I would say our mixture is more the B2B world. We're very good at lead generation, and that covers all the way from manufacturing through to I'm trying to think. Your mind goes blank when you're on a call now. So, but we do even in the health and wellness sector. So one of our biggest clients is in the health and wellness sector. They've done really well. A company called Get a Drip. We've been working with them for 8 years. We've taken them from the point of starting point through to now becoming a franchise business all over the UK and all over Europe. So we do really well with that sort of stuff. So people always ask me as well what sector we work in. Yeah, I have over 250 clients, so we're very lucky to kind of cover a lot of sectors. But where we are very good is understanding the business needs and business requirements for lead gen. And understanding how we can turn people into customers or potential customers through good customer experience and customer UX on websites and so on. So, but then even in the e-commerce world, we work with people like Two Farmers, Crisps, and we have lots of clients that are kind of selling online too. So we do really well out of those. Do you mean? So we've taken on some new startup businesses. I can't mention them at the minute, but they are just about to launch at the beginning of May, and they potentially will be quite disruptive in the e-commerce world in terms of what they do. So. Yeah, we support a lot, so we're very lucky, really.
Great. And what does your team look like? You said you got a team of 6.
Yes. So we have, so my business partner, Dale, he's a graphic designer, focuses more on the graphic side of things, very much sits behind the scenes. And I will be honest with you, I'm lucky to be, Kevin, I suppose, the face of my business, but it's not me. Dale's very good at doing all the amazing stuff behind the scenes, making us look amazing from the DM Lab perspective and getting us involved in so many things and, everything else. And I just go out and do the talky bits and get to do the fun bits and stuff. But Dale's very much the brains behind the business in terms of a lot of the things that we do. Then you've got Harvey, you've got Joe, you've got Hazel. And then we have several different part-time people sort of dip in and out, doing different bits and bobs with the company, ad hoc and when we need to. So, and they all specialize in different areas, and they've all come, bar Dale, they were all apprentices. So they all started as an apprentice. They've all become qualified through digital marketing now. So we've trained them all. One of them, Harvey's almost finished his degree in digital marketing. So he's gone from being an apprentice to doing a degree in digital marketing. So, and I just love that model. So because the skills are very difficult to find.
Well, let's explore that a little bit, because I know that there's a lot of debate amongst clients that we work with, a lot of business owners, as to whether the apprentice route is the right route, and whether it's worth the time and the effort that it takes to do them, or whether they should go for a more qualified person. So you've obviously made it work. So what tips and tricks would you have for other people?
So the way I looked at it was simple, Kevin. When I started, and we was just Dale and I in a little garage once, and we were very nervous about employing people naturally because we didn't know how to scale, which is ironic why we're on this conversation. But how do we take the business and grow and invest in the right people? And the apprentice route come up with TDM in Worcester. We looked at those guys. I've heard of them before and thought they'd be a very good resource to tap into, and they were brilliant. And what we looked for, I think, Kevin, was, and I still do, when they come in, is it's not the qualifications, it's not not experience. What I want is attitude and attitude, and we can train them, right? So it means you put hands on, you have to put the effort in. But what we found for the apprentice route is that you'll get someone in that might not have every single skill that you require, but they'll start to fall into an area that they're very good at. So Harvey fell into the AdWords and the marketing route. Hazel's fallen into the website front end and AdWords too. Joe has become our lead front end designer, so he's doing website designs. So what we do is you have to embrace that a little bit, and sort of go, well, actually, we can see that you're kind of following a route, and a little bit of hand holding and a little bit of education, and we kind of want autonomous learning, right? So the idea is they're going to go off and do stuff and start understanding and challenge it and work it out and things like that. So. And they've been brilliant, and the reason we did that, I vividly remember looking for a PHP developer before we employed anyone. And the type of people that were applying for the jobs were nowhere near the mark, or just didn't have the skills, because again, being a rural county, it affects us. But then secondly, with the world of digital, it is a multi-skilled trade. So it was really difficult. So I knew that I needed to get either someone in that was either very qualified, which would have meant a lot of money at the time, and we probably didn't have the budgets for that, to then having someone that I can bring in to then train up and get them to learn and understand. And I mean, Harvey's been with me 6-7 years now. I'm saying that very vaguely because I can't remember exactly what it is, but so he'll tell me off for that later. And Joe's now a few years, Hazel's a couple of years, and they kind of stay, because actually we look after them, we make sure that they're inspired to work with us. They work with clients, and we are lucky to have quite an exciting business. We do work with some mundane stuff too, but we work with some amazingly cool stuff, which a lot of businesses wouldn't do, so it kind of just keeps them incentivized. So I'm all for the apprentice stuff. So time and effort, absolutely, put in your time and effort with each of them. Make sure you train them, but don't expect miracles from them, but at the same time, give them the support they need, and they will turn into the things that you need to turn into.
Great. And I guess in such a rapidly changing area with new things coming out all the time, then I guess if you're bringing in the young people that are exposed to some of those things in an early age, rather than somebody like me who's like, what on earth is Facebook?
It is definitely that. So like the best one is so obviously I'm all about the youth, and when they're leading the way before we are these days, and telling us about AI and even TikTok and Snapchat, Kevin, is beyond me these days. So and I'm actually very anti-social. I'm not a big fan of social media, even though we use it as a marketing tool. I actually don't like the thing that it's done to the world. I'm not a fan, and there's a lot of psychological aspects of that. I'm very open about that, but we know that there's a necessary evil in terms of what it produces and what it does. But the youth are very good, and again, when they come in, they come up with more creative ideas and different ideas, and we look for inspiration off them. They, like I say, they kind of own their own sort of area, and they can go and crack on and do whatever they want to do. And nothing's a bad idea, nothing's ever a bad idea. It's just it's a seed to something else, and I'm very pro that.
Great. And what is it that you love about what you do?
If you'd asked me that 14 years ago,
I was going to say, it's kept you going 14 years. So what is it?
Do you know what? It's one of those things. I think I just like the chase of everything. I love one of the things that I'm lucky enough to done or been able to do over the years is watch people succeed. And I know that sounds like a typical thing for someone to say, but that is my job. I literally look at other people and I'm able to take them from nothing to something, and then potentially something to something else. And when you see that journey happen, it's one of the most satisfying things in the world. Now, I not only do that in the DM lab, I also do that personally in my real world scenario, right? So I'm all about the community and growing stuff and developing stuff. So through the DM lab, both Dale and I, and the whole business actually, has been actively involved in a lot of corporate social responsibility work, but we support the community. So the DM lab's kind of allowed us to do all that. So I put back into the community in lots of different ways, for grassroots sports to raising money to charity, whatever, developing skills in the county, all those different things. So that is the part that I really love. And then working with these unique customers and challenging customers and all those different things that we've done over the 14 years. Yeah, I just love it. You just see, the ever evolving technology. AI is a great example of this. The ever evolving technology world of AI, for example, coming in now and doing the things that it's doing. I mean, what a cool thing to be a part of, right? We're living like the way I to say this to the guys in the office is that we are now living in the future. Right. And it's really hard to understand that. Like when we were in the 80s and 90s, we sold all these different things. And, we're now living in the future that everyone thought we were going to start to have. And it's becoming that reality. So, we are at the precipice of that. And that could be a negative and a positive for many reasons. And I think with some of the learnings that we've learned from social media and some of the things that have gone in the past, potentially it has a powerful thing to be able to do. So, but what a cool thing to be part of. I mean, come on. Do you mean, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And where do you think your industry is going? Is it all about AI, and how's that going? If it is, how's that going to impact your industry?
So I'm a big fan of AI. I mean, the short answer is yes, but the long answer is is that I think that you've got to get the one thing that they've been trying to do for probably the best part of 15 to 20 years is how do you join up probably longer actually, Kevin. You and I come from an era that, remember the old virtual reality systems and things like that. I think that what they're going to be looking at is how they integrate the sort of shopping experiences and real world experiences to the digital experience. And there is some people trying to do that and doing it successfully. I work with customers that are doing that at the moment. Things like the metaverse and stuff like that, where you've kind of potentially take the high street into the virtual world and, tourism into the virtual world, lots of different things like that, and it becomes a bit Ready Player One type stuff. But and you've got to be a bit careful with that because you don't want to start going into a whole future that people don't want to see. But I think if you start to integrate these systems well, and AI being one of them, what you have the opportunity of is a really cool technology experience that joins up the real world scenario, real world experience. So how should they complement each other? So and I think that the future is improving speed and efficiency through AI, improving output through AI, improving design and user experience through metaverse and virtual reality worlds and augmented reality. But also then even coming back down to the simplicity things of things like, understanding one of the big things that we promote and we actively promote, as I touched on before, is understanding your values. Business people will align with the business's values before they potentially align with the cost and the service. So having a business that shows real good values and things, sustainability, the values of your business, corporate social responsibility, the personality of the business, we're seeing that translate into the digital world. So people will choose potentially the second best brand, for example, based on, the values of that brand, so instead of choosing the leading brand, because, we want to align with things now, and it's very Z Gen stuff, but even the millennial generation is kind of in this world where, we look at something with our eyes and go, well, I like this brand, and I'm judging this brand now based on their sustainability criteria or their eco credentials or whatever, and it matters, when it's got some good stuff going on there, like B Corp and so on, which allows you to, make sure you're doing these things. It's not greenwashing. It's all doing it properly, but at the same time, you're aligning with a big part of the audience. And I think that's what's going to come as the future goes on. And the other thing, something you're doing, Kevin, by the way, we see in the world of digital now is the short form and long form content mix. So when people see a short form content, so TikTok, good example, what they'll do is they'll look at something like TikTok and look at a video, but then they'll want to align with a brand or whoever it is, and then go and look at long form content and read long form or watch long form videos or podcasts. So it's having those sort of little things involved in your business, but it's just people just want to consume more, as quick as possible. Our attention spans aren't the best. But we also have an aspect of social proof, so we'll buy into what other people are doing, so we know, and these are just stats, but we know about 95% of people will check out reviews before they buy online. About 85% of people will probably check out a business before, in terms of reviews before doing business with them, so these are all facts. There's not me making it up. They are facts, that's what user behavior is currently doing and will carry on doing.
Yeah, very good. So 14 years ago, then what got you started?
Oh, that's a good one. So I come from a sales and marketing background. So I've done all sorts of sales in my life. I'm lucky enough to have done things like door knocking and car sales and business to business sales and all those different things. And I had children very young. I'm 42 and I had my first child at 19. And I met my wife in my mid-20s, another partner obviously previously to that. I I vividly remember this actually. I come from an army family and pro veterans and all that stuff, but I come from a very, very army family. And I was actually, through most of my teenage years and 20s, I was actually very against joining the army. It wasn't for me, even though I got into fitness and training and I'm health inspired, but I was a bit against it. But I found myself at a point in my life where I didn't know what to do with myself. And I went to join the army up at Lichfield, and I went to have a go at it and everything else. And unfortunately, at the time, I knew I'd had this problem, but I was super fit, very healthy, but I had asthma, and I've got real bad eyes, bad vision. So basically, it didn't turn out so well. And I remember coming back from the Lichfield on a train, absolutely in tears, to my wife saying, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. So long story short, I went back to Worcester University and re-educated, doing a degree in computer networks and information security. And during that time, found I had an amazing aptitude for semantic web and web design and SEO, and again, I just loved it. Do you mean? And so it was like, oh my god, I can see how sales processes translate into digital worlds. I could just see how it all worked and understanding people's attentions, rapports, all those different things, which is something I've done for years in sales. So I started to do some freelance work and some website work, and I graduated really well from Worcester University. Not quite at first; I was a couple of marks off at first, but my paper that I wrote for dissertation was really good, and so on. So lecturers were super supportive, and I met people from ISO Quality Services, and kind of just unraveled from there. But Dale was the best one. Dale I never really knew. He was a friend of my brother. And I started to work on a project that did require some design work, and I'm not very good at design myself. So being non-creative I'm creative, but not as much as him. And someone recommended him and said, look, you need to work with this guy. He's looking for some freelance work. So I got him in, and we become business partners before we become friends, and we just decided to start the business and go from there. And as I said, we've kind of recognized very quickly there was a lot of people who were giving misadvice and missold websites, not understanding what to do with them. And we just knew that we could do a better job, and it took us, my wife at that time wasn't convinced. I had lots of job opportunities, IBM, Vodafone, Yahoo, and so on. Yeah. I said to the wife, look, I've got young kids. I wanted to go and try and live both lives and enjoy the children. I'm very much about a work balance lifestyle. I kind of, love the family life, and that's what's inspired me really, is my kids and my family, and I wanted to spend as much time as I can with them, and I have. Very lucky to have, but also, at the same time, sold my soul a little bit starting a business. And it just went from there. We just kind of just did it. We just gone for it, and it took me a long time to get established. And locally, really difficult to get established, right? Because, the problem we had is we were promoting digital, and not everyone got that digital journey, and everyone wanted websites, and there was other agencies that were established before us. So it takes a long time to build trust in our industry, right? Because we know what this industry can be like. There's a lot of people out there that don't do a good job. And one thing that we take pride in is that we try to make sure every single customer we work with has a good experience with us. Not everyone does, but we are one of the highest rated digital agencies now in the 3 counties, and probably one of the highest rated digital agencies in the UK. So because we, and Google reviews wise, because we very much make sure that we do a good job. So and we Jennifer from ISOs actually remember articulating this in one of my reviews a long time ago. What my expertise was able to take something that complex and break it down into simple solutions for customers, and I love that. I love to be able to do that, and for them to then see what that looks like,
Very good. So tell us about some of the key milestones then along your journey. What's some of the key points?
So making money was the first one.
Yeah, your first check or your first bank transfer or whatever.
That takes longer than you think, Kevin. That takes longer than you think. So
I know, believe me, yeah.
I vividly remember times where we found things difficult, and it was difficult. But when you start to get to a point where, we have a regular client list that was kind of like generating good revenue, and weirdly, it's a horrible milestone. But when you think about VAT registration, because you have to, and things like that, they were kind of things that we did. But then, what we started to realize is our reputation was becoming quite recognized. And when we started to get some real big clients on our books, and then awards, we've won a ridiculous amount of awards, which you can't see in the background. I know that obviously it's a podcast, but in the background you can see we've got certificates and awards all over the place where we've won some really big things. And, but again, recognized locally, regionally, nationally and globally, you know. So I would say every single one of those have been milestones, and we've just had one now for the International Corporate Social Responsibility Awards, you know. So you know, so when you start to see things like that, it kind of, that's you have to pinch yourself every now and again, you know, where you sort of go, how have I done that, you know, and or how have we done it, not how have I done it, how have we done it, you know. And you sit there going, wow, you know. And hiring our first staff member, Harvey, you know, that was a massive milestone for us. And you know, it's just those mad moments where you take for granted sometimes, but you look back and go, how did I do that? You know, how do we get to those little points? So, you know, we are very recognised now in Herefordshire, which is great. Well, Herefordshire and Worcestershire, actually. So, yeah, which is great, you know, and I kind of like that, you know, because it means that people realise that we're an established digital agency. And I can safely say that we're a leading digital agency, which is, I think that's a big milestone to be able to say that.
Very good. So what are some of the things you think you've got right that have led to you being as successful as you are?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I got a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what I got right was the things that I got wrong. Okay. So, and I think that's quite an important thing. So there's a couple of things that I've always said to people, and I've learned my own way, is that, you know, listen to everything, but choose what you act on. Okay. It's really important. So like, that's what, for me, it's a big piece for me, that when I've worked, I respect everyone that I work with, everyone that I speak to, and everyone that I meet. Right. And everyone that speaks to me about everything they do or have an opinion on it, I listen to everything. Okay. But at that point, it's my decision then on what I choose to act on and what I'm going to do with it. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's a really important piece of advice that I've always lived by myself, and kind of done that and thought, well, actually, that's how I'm going to act. You know, and I also don't believe the customer's always right, by the way, you know, but that's a discussion for another day.
Maybe not, maybe it is for today.
Yeah. Wow. It's one of those. I think that we live in a world where, you know, a lot of things have been thrown at us, and lots of stuff over the years have been thrown at us. But, you know, I think you, as an expert, you know, the problem you got is we live in a diluted world now. So another saying that I like to say is that there's a lot of experts out there that have been listening to so-called experts. So the problem you've got is it's diluted, right? So especially in the digital world, you know, so because everything's accessible, right? You can all do stuff on Google, we can all Google something, everyone becomes an expert in everything. But, you know, you've got to be able to know your stuff and know how to kind of digest it and read through things and understand what to do with it, how to deliver it, you know, so don't be scared to challenge, you know. So the things that I've done wrong, Kevin, too easy to say yes to things. You know, so I've learned over the years, you know, make sure that you don't say yes to everything, you know, make sure that you are selective on who you work with, you know, because I've got a lot of failures, not all successes, you know, things that have gone wrong. And again, those are the things for me that when you sat there and you're thinking about whether you've done the right things in your life, you know, those failures, and it is cliche, are the things that you learn from and make you stronger. And that happens, you know, I've lived that moment many times over, where you sit there and regret the choices that you've made, or you've done something wrong with something or whatever. And then the only way you move on and kick on from that is going, right, okay, actually, I know how to improve on that, you know. So yeah, I think though it's more the failures that have made us successful, you know, in terms of what we do. But then the other big thing for me is doing the corporate social responsibility work. I mean, that's amazing. What an amazing thing to be part of, because the self-fulfilling prophecy of that is the fact that, you know, you feel fulfilled in everything you're doing with the job, you know. So it's not because of the marketing side of it, you know, that's great to have too, but actually it's because I'm working with a lot of people in the community and working with lots of people, seeing the improvement in the community and all the people around me. And I love that. I live and breathe that. So, you know, those sort of things are really fulfilling, you know, and, you know, again, help you to become more experienced in your business and the way that you're going to do. But yeah, no, many failures, I think, are the reasons I have success.
Anything, if you look back on, that you would say, you know what, with the benefit of hindsight, well, I'd have done that differently then?
Yeah, choose wisely who you work with. I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice, you know, and you know, over the years, I made those mistakes because I'm a people pleaser. I like to work with everyone. I want to work with everyone. I want to make everyone happy, you know, and I know it's a character, what's the word, kind of trait, you know, that I have, and I know I have, and you know, I'm very good at that, and I kind of want to make people happy and do all that stuff, and then you end up regretting your choices because potentially you either miscosted the job or not done the job correctly or whatever based on the brief, the requirements, clients, so on. So, yeah, I think those are the big things that I would look back at, and I probably the other thing is not hold back on trying to go forward. You know, I think it's very easy sometimes to be in your safe zone, you know, and, you know, again, we're probably we're at a point now where we're ready to scale again and go up again. And we just had that discussion today, actually, funny enough. So, right. You know, and you sit there going, you know, sometimes you just got to do it. You've just got to do it and get on with it. Do you mean? Like, you know, and I think there is aspects that you've got to worry about, but sometimes I always remember I spoke to many people over the years, again, listen to all the advice, and people would say you sort of grow in this pattern. You sort of, you go up and then you go across and you go up and you go across and so on. And it's kind of true. You do that a little bit, where you sort of understand that, for every staff member, which are completely, valuable to our business, the business generates more revenue, more income and so on, and outputs better. So invest wisely in your staff, make sure that you grow the right way. And success, by the way, should be measured over a long period of time. The problem you have is that people's expectations for success, I think, are short-lived. They measure success in a year or 3 years. I'm measuring my success in my journey over 20 years, right? And my success isn't about me in a multi-million pound, business or a multi-million pound or a multi-millionaire or whatever. It's about making sure that I have, a nice, sustainable, viable business that either continues on that long after I've gone, or is whatever it's going to be for my children or whatever, or staff or whatever. So, you have to manage your expectations, because in the world of media, in the world of everything we see, you only ever hear about these big success stories, right? Yes. These big success stories, and everyone's measuring their failure and their success based on those. And actually, success is in this world is sustaining and living and being able to have a business, right? So, and if you're able to measure that over 20 years and then chunk that down into milestones, what happens is you never really fail. Right, because you will have lots of ups and downs, but your milestones are then achievable because they're chunked out, and then every single one that you achieve is getting bigger to your big goal. And I think that's a sensible way to look at growing your business the right way.
Very good, absolutely. Here. No, that's a very good way of looking at it. So, what you mentioned 20 years. I mean, you began 14 years. We've said several times. So, what's the goal for 20 years then?
So I think I'm at a point, to be honest with you, Kevin, where I am looking at how I can change the structure of the business. Right. I want to spend more time with my wife, which I know sounds like a weird thing because we're talking about business and growth, but I've been very hands-on with the business and for 14 years, and I'm very much client-facing, very much involved with all the clients still. I am slowly looking at how I transition out that a little bit, and responsibilities being passed to my amazing team. And the same with Dale. We joke about playing. We both hate golf, but we joke about going off and being able to play golf and things like that. So we would always be some involved in the business. But absolutely, we're starting to think about the next phase of things. But we also are looking at potential other avenues. We've explored other businesses and business ideas too. And also just to keep the success going, Kevin. I want to see, again, the ongoing success of the business and the awards and the growth of it is the key. And, my daughter, actually, Hazel, is one of the ones that works for us. And, so she's been working with us, for almost 2 years now. So, and I never thought any of my kids would work for me, to be honest with you. But so we've become a bit more of a family run business now, which is great. And I think some of Dale's kids are a bit younger, showing interest. So, you never know. So the plan is never a straight line, but ultimately, more success, more growth, working with more people. But I think working smart is where we are now in our phase, So we, again, coming back to the issue of saying yes to everything and kind of being a people pleaser, we're kind of stopping that a little bit now and working smart, very selective with the clients we're working with. We're probably able to do that because of the fact that we have a sustainable business base now. It takes a long time to be able to build that security to understand how you can deliver that. Without failing, or not so much failing, but without sort of struggling a little bit,
Yeah, and knowing that you can make the payroll at the end of the month, sort of.
That's the key. And trust me, that's been hard sometimes,
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all been there, absolutely. Yeah. So you've mentioned the people and you've had success through the apprentice route, but you were saying that you'd really got that team culture working really, really well. What sort of things do you do then to get that working, get that family feel, that culture feel that you've got?
Probably not enough yet. So weirdly, we've been looking over the last sort of 12 months or so how we improve that for the staff. Because it can be quite difficult, even though you're working a small team and we're all sort of sat within the proximity of each other, you can become siloed and sort of individuals. So we introduced some kind of cool sprint meetings and some different things that kind of kept the business going a little bit. But again, we've had to introduce new behaviors, and I've asked Harvey to potentially look at things like, staff incentive days and things like that, that we can support them with, because it's when you go from being, super micro, which is just Dale and I, to then becoming a business, that does stuff. So to give you a heads up, Dale and I are very active outside of work together. So we do ultra marathons and some other things together so for us, it's actually, we do that already naturally, but you then realize you've got staff that might not be so interested in doing ultra marathons, right? So so we have to look at different ways of doing that. So we we are trying to work out better ways to incentivize staff. It's probably a bit that we're failing at the minute, and they know I'm saying this, but I'm very transparent with it, that we are trying to improve for the business.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Okay, and what about from the cash perspective? Is it all been or through organic growth? Have you had to?
Yeah, I'm going to say, bar a COVID bounce back loan. Yeah. But yeah, no, we've all been organic, so we're very lucky, really. So, we had the bounce back loan back in COVID times, because naturally we're kind of a bit uncertain with cash flow and everything else. But otherwise, no, we've our funding circle we've used in the past as well, actually, for a bit of investment when we moved offices. But very minor, Kevin. No investment, no outside investment, no lending, no borrowing. We've got a nice, healthy balance sheet and clean sheet and all that sort of stuff. So purposely, we did that. I've worked with a lot of businesses that have had investment and failed and struggled and things like that. So, you've got to be very careful with that world of investment business. People are investing in you. It's not always a bad thing, by the way. It's a good thing too. I've also worked with success stories, who've done very well off having good investments. But I kind of like the idea that we're not held by that, and we kind of do what we want to do the way we want to do it. And again, like I say, I don't chase the pounds and pence, as ironic as that sounds. If I was chasing the money, there probably would be a lot of things that we could do with the business and probably make more money. But I feel like I would sell my soul for a lot of that stuff. And I'm not into that. I kind of like the idea that, we can live healthy and comfortably under control of our own sort of guys, and that matters, So I think, I'm quite happy to keep that away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, good. And what have you learned about setting up a business and working with another person as joint founders? Is it 50-50? Is that?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, 51-49 or something like that. I think we don't even know these days, which is terrible shit, right? So,
so who's got the 51? Yeah,
it is. Yeah, so it's me. There's 51. So do you know what? One of the best things for Dale and I was the fact that we weren't friends. We didn't know each other that well, and we got together because of our skill set. Yeah, I think that was kind of a big learning point, and over the years, there's been many conversations about, why have you gone 50-50? Why are you doing it together? All these different things. And do you know what? I would have probably quit this a long time ago if it wasn't for Dale, and I'm sure Dale would have said the same. So from a support mechanism perspective, it's been very, very, it's just amazing because he brings to the table, he's not here at the minute, but he brings stuff to the table that I don't bring to the table. And then equally, obviously the same for me to him. And he doesn't want to do any talking stuff. He hates speaking on things and doing stuff. He won't show his face. He stays behind the scenes. So I've done that over the years, and he's like, say, the reverse. He'll go off and do all the thinking, and he'll make sure he grounds me, right, Kevin? Like if it was me, I would have had a building in London by my third year and probably gone bust and all that stuff. So because I would have took over the world if I had the chance, right? That was like the whole point of this process, and he kept me grounded and stopped me from kind of going off crazy. And we've, as kind of started off the back of a recession and now gone through another recession. If I'd done any of those things, we probably wouldn't have survived, So that sounding board, that equilibrium, many different things. It was, the best things ever for having us together and just keeping us going through some dark times and hard times and so on. And like I said, I'm now a godfather to his children. We do ultra marathons and charity and fundraising and all these different things together outside of work. We're not friends, by the way, still. Do you mean so
I'm not sure what the definition of a friend must be then if you're not. Yeah.
So it's just an amazing relationship. It's like the ultra marathons. I mean, he's fitter than me and he's quicker than me these days. But when we do an ultra marathon or any activity together, it's an amazing experience because we go on it together. And you find that you're kind of troubleshooting when you're on them, so you kind of have clarity of thought. And I'm all about mental well-being and having my own mental issues over the years. And you kind of understand when you're on these ultra marathons, the conversations you can have. You can go into so many layers of stuff and go deep into things that are just amazing. And because you've got no distractions, right? So you're able to, an ultra marathon might take us 10 to 12 hours, and Dale and I are critical thinking on that. So I've started a business off the back of an ultra marathon, believe it or not. So so it was an NFT business, which we won't go into now. But but it's one of those things, and we've having someone to work with along the journey has been an amazing experience.
And how do you? Because I'm sure there's been times when you haven't agreed with each other. So how do you handle disagreements between you?
Lots of times. Do you
wheel out well, I'm the 51% shareholder?
No, never. So it's an interesting one actually. Like you say, like these guys find it fun in the office because Dale and I will argue like we're a married couple, and even my wife says sometimes it's like we are like Dale, he's like my second wife, and I'm his second wife. However we want to look at it.
Yeah.
And we have lots of creative debates and. I think the key thing for that is to understand, every opinion matters, and we both have a very clear understanding of where our skills end and begin, and sometimes they'll resist about stuff. I'll put things forward and vice versa. And then collectively, we kind of come to the same conclusion, which is like an amazing thing because, that's unique. It is unique. We're very lucky to have that. I think we also live and die by the sword a little bit. So like, look, if Dale does something and I think it's not quite right, I'll back him. But at the end of the day, I'll have an opinion on it. And if it goes well, then great. If it doesn't, then you own that, right? That's your responsibility, and vice versa. So, but because we both believe in the DM Lab and everything we deliver and everything about it, the brand, the marketing, the client relationships, all the positivity around it, it's made our lives easier because the collective goal is the same. We know that we're not trying to, get one on each other or impact each other or whatever. We both are trying to achieve exactly the same goal.
Brilliant. Good. So 5 years from now, then what is you mentioned you had a discussion this morning about scaling up, going the next step. So what, 5 years from now, what does it look like?
So I think probably I'm hoping up to double the staff, which is quite a big scale up from where we are now in theory. So because in the shorter time frame, so the route that we're on at the moment, we should be probably tripling or quadrupling our turnover. We're very much on that route quite quickly at the minute, which is quite an exciting place to be. Okay. And then also bigger offices, and things like that. So I kind of want to get to a point where, these guys know, I want other people to kind of run the business a little bit for me. Do you know what I mean? So directors and so on might shift around and change things. So yeah, a bit more strategic, I think, Kevin. And the old saying again is kind of, I want to be working on the business, not in the business, right? Yeah, You've heard that before, right? So
2 times, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's true, I'm very good at doing the strategic stuff and speaking and selling clients and so on. So, I kind of want to, and I'm doing that now, but obviously I'm very heavily involved in every single client's journey at the moment. So, that's where I'd like to be personally. And I think Dale would be very similar, and we both kind of want to sit to a point where, the key to this is, when you're able to, sit at home or go on holiday or go to the gym or do an ultra marathon, whatever it needs to be, and the business is functioning, it's doing exactly what it needs to do. You don't have to worry about it. You haven't got to check your emails. You haven't got to check your phone calls. I'm not quite there yet, and there's many times when I've even now been on holiday and picking up phone calls and emailing people because you kind of have to do stuff because you're the senior person in the business. So, so kind of that less reliance on me. And we're getting there, and then obviously, like I say, bigger business. And even if we only achieve half that, I'd be happy.
And what might get in the way, do you think? What's the biggest challenge you might face?
Economy.
another pandemic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We are, I think, very much en route to hit that probably sooner than I think, actually, if we carry on the way we are. Poor service, I think we've got to be careful with that, and dropping off service, becoming busy fools, make sure we're not delivering the quality that we want to deliver and so on, because quality for us is what sells. And then ultimately, I joke, but the economy is something we are ultra aware of. In my world, marketing is one of the first things that ever gets flat. Yeah. And, it's a crazy thing to think of, but it does, and we've seen it. So through COVID, what we did, actually, we carried on trading, actually, ironically, through COVID, but what we were able to do through COVID times was offer a lot of free support and advice to a lot of the local community in terms of keeping themselves above water and going, which, didn't necessarily pay the bills, but it just kept us relevant, so economies and pandemics and things like that are probably something that the unknowns. I think the economy is probably just on the basis probably next year to start bouncing back out quite nicely. Some disruptive technologies and cryptocurrency and stuff like that coming in, which is interesting as well. Metaverse and AI, all those sort of things. So, the challenging things can also become success points, and if you look at Warren Buffett type thing, when there's blood on the streets, there's money to be made, which sounds awful and callous, but that's kind of how you've got to look at it. Is right, okay, so if there's something going on, what do we do and how do we transition? And the big word in COVID time was pivot. Pivot, everyone was using the word pivot. You need to pivot your business, and it's true. Agility in a business is key, right? So how do you move around to make sure that you're suiting the requirements of the globe and the world and the potential clients? and that's what we're able to do very well is in the world of digital is kind of shift from, one area of that focus. So if it's web design, and it could become app design and integration and software and stuff like that. So we're very clever at that, and we've done that probably for 14 years. AI is a really good example of that. People are flapping in this world because of AI, and I've been working in Google AdWords, for example, for 14 years, and they've been updating their systems for as long as I remember. And it went from being, very manual system to now becoming, algorithmic and kind of, doing lots of computer AI type stuff. Well, it's been doing that for 14 years. With respect to everyone, I make more money on Google Ads now than I did 14 years ago. So it's how you transition with that, and like I say, interpret. So I think there's lots of things that can scupper us and cause us hindrance, but a lot of them will probably only ever be caused by our own ignorance if we're not clever,
Good. And it'd be remiss of me not to ask, how do you get your own clients? What's your
a mix, yeah. So I'm lucky enough to have a great referral network, and I do joke about this a lot. So weirdly, a lot of our clients come from really good referrals. We do our own inbound, and we do a lot of Google advertising ourselves, and SEO. Primarily is kind of more local stuff, because naturally in the world of digital, it's quite difficult to become number one for anything these days. So a lot of inbound social media marketing, and we do a lot of PR, and we're also, as I said, we've won a lot of awards. So part of our PR strategy is obviously to be in amongst these awards, and we've been in the Drum Awards, which was a really incredible one in the marketing world. We were I think we were finalists. We didn't win it, but it was Global Entrepreneurial Global Entrepreneur of the Year award. Yeah. So I was a runner-up in that against some big agencies. So all those sort of things, supporting small businesses, and then also the corporate social responsibility stuff, Kevin. And having real strong values. I live and breathe our ethos. And collectively, so does the organisation. I literally posted this at the weekend, actually, because of the corporate social responsibility awards that we're in. Because if you don't believe it, then don't preach it, right? And I firmly believe in having this ethos, and I know that, like, when I speak to clients or potential clients, I always tell them businesses and people will do businesses with other people, so people buy into people, simple as that, so how you want to be seen within the world of digital, or even in the real world, is how you have to portray yourself, live and breathe it, because coming back to my point, people will align with you, right? They will align with you because they like you, they like your values, they like everything you stand for, and that's not a sales pitch. That's not anything. The key to my world is that when I'm able to sit in a meeting and discuss something with someone for an hour, and 90% of that is discussing lots of other things, and only 10% of it is actually talking about the business, right? So because what happens is then you know that you're going to be able to do business with each other, right? So and that's a good sales pitch, So I think so things like that are just important, So you do all those different things in the right way. That's how you grow, and that's how you build, and ironically, I'm better at making money for other people than I'm probably myself. Which is an ongoing joke. But it is what it is. That's what I'm paid to do.
Yeah, well, that's, in some respects, that's like the car mechanic's car and the painter and decorator's house, and it is good. All right, it's been fascinating talking with you, Chris. If you're up for a couple of quick fire questions before we close,
yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So, if you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself? Maybe you mentioned the story of when you went up to Lichfield for the army and came back, and what advice would you give yourself then?
I would still give myself, and there was my old sales marketing guru that I sort of worked with a long time ago, in my late teens actually, and I stand by this advice, is probably, and it sounds really poor, but you'll understand it, is to look after number one. Okay, for the simple reason, if you're able to look after number one, that means that everything you care about around you will also start to be taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I stand and live and breathe by that, and I think that, that's key. Work balance, lifestyle. Do you mean? So it's not all about the money. And I vividly remember in my 20s and 30s chasing the pounds and pence. I'm more fulfilled in my life now. And it's easier to say that now I'm 42 and grown up kids and grandchildren, that I'm able to say, that actually, money is a side product. It's absolutely side product. Time is the precious thing, right? So understand what's in front of you. You cannot pay for time. You'll never get time back. So if every minute you spend on this planet, enjoy it, understand it, make the most of it, and whether it's in the business world or whether it's in your real world. And I think that's, for me, is probably the biggest piece of advice I'd give myself.
Yeah, huge advice. Brilliant. Are you Are you a learner, a podcast listener, a book reader? What sort of things would you highlight? Which particular ones might you highlight for us?
I'm a rubbish podcast listener. I should listen to more podcasts, Kevin. So I do listen to the odd one, but I'm very, very surreal. But like to read the old book. I'm more an Audible fan these days. Yeah. So I suppose that's kind of in the world of podcast. I'm a more Audible fan. But yeah, and also I'm a learner. I learn everything. That's all I do. I spend my time doing it.
Any particular books or resources that you would highlight for entrepreneurs?
As weird as it sounds, I love things to do with cryptocurrency. So there's some really good ones, which I won't mention on here because it's got a swear word in the title. It's been around for a couple of years, but it's about economy and Bitcoin and everything else. So that's probably something that I've embedded myself in at the moment. So, but I'll tell you, it's Bitcoin, hard money you can't F with is what I'm going to say. So I won't play it, but it's a great book. I find it quite interesting. Anything by Simon Sinek, I've kind of been involved in digest. TED Talks, I love, so anything that's kind of short, ironic podcast, but anything that's short, brief snippets of information. And again, any sort of big, influencers or marketers that I follow as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Any particular apps or bits of technology that you love on day-to-day basis?
I hate apps. so weirdly, again, I know that's a funny thing, but no, I think one of the big things that we're using from a software and technology point of view, in terms of marketing, CRM systems and things like HubSpot are really good, so all over that. I try and keep my apps off my phone. Again, mine are probably all around cryptocurrency or fitness. But I just don't like apps, and I find them quite intrusive. And again, actually, a piece of advice, by the way, for me, just being disconnected is key. So I actually keep all my notifications and things turned off on my phone. I avoid wearing watches that are connected to phones. I keep everything on silent, and because I like to control my own lifestyle. So it was making me ill. So one of the things, I was going back to the younger question actually. So I've kind of circumnavigated this a little bit. Is be aware of that, what those things can do. Being so connected to technology is also a pitfall. It has a lot of advantages and positives, but a good example of this is being sat in a meeting and your phone buzzing in your pocket and your watch is going. You're looking at your phone, looking at your watch, looking at you're not really ever paying attention to the person in front of you. And that's my point about time. When you're sat in front of people, give them the time, listen to what they're saying, and make sure you talk back and give them that time of day. When you've got these devices connected to you just don't do that.
Excellent. Very good indeed. No, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Chris. Thank you very much indeed. If people would like to get hold of you or find out more about the DM Lab, what's the best way for them to do that? So
email chris@thedmlab.com, phone number 01432 607 660, and then website www.thedmlab.com.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put those in the show notes. So, Chris, thank you very much for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today.
My pleasure, Kevin. Loved it.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.